What's up, guys? I'm Coach Lance, and today I admit that I have made a mistake. In my previous video where I had ChatGPT pick the entire 2025 6A Minnesota high school football season, basically I just messed up. I went through and had ChatGPT make picks for the entire season. As you can see here, it made all the picks. We plugged it all in. We got win-loss records from all the teams. We were able to seed them. We got section records. That all is correct. What I messed up was in the playoff brackets over here. So I ended up going with this bottom left bracket down here because it was the only one that really had Lakeville South and Maple Grove on opposite sides of the bracket. And you want essentially the two teams that had the most difficult schedule on opposite sides of the bracket. But I said it wasn't ideal because I would want Maple Grove on the same side of the bracket as Woodbury. And I guess what I didn't really touch on as much is that there are 4 state brackets that were available, and I only filled out these 2. And I think I explained why. It's because you want the 2 best teams to meet here in the state championship game, not here or here in the state semifinals. For example, if we look at this upper left bracket here, you'll see that Lakeville South and Maple Grove, who arguably came out 8-0, had 2 of the toughest schedules in the entire season, would meet in the state semifinal and have to play the winner of Centennial and Woodbury, who you could argue didn't have as tough a strength of schedule. But, that's a little bit more subjective. But that's essentially how the state high school league thinks, which is why I had these 2 brackets highlighted blue. And ultimately, I went with the bottom left one because, as you can see, orange are regular season matchups from the season and yellow are playoff matchups from the previous year. So in this top right bracket, you can see we had a regular season rematch of Rogers and Moorhead, this time at Rogers, and then we had 2 repeat playoff matchups from last season. STMA and Shakopee matched up in the second round, as did Mounds View and Prior Lake. And funny enough, they're going to the same sites. It's STMA at Shakopee and Prior Lake at Mounds View. And I didn't want that repetition. We had no repeat matchups down here, which is why I ultimately chose this bracket. Like I said, I made a mistake. I thought I was choosing between 4 brackets. The problem, though, is I was only choosing between 3. How did I miss this if I've got 4 brackets up here? Well, this 2019 state tournament bracket right here, let's just look at, we'll say, the bottom left corner here. So Coon Rapids at Woodbury, Prior Lake at Wayzata, Anoka at Eastridge, and Moorhead at Rosemount. Keep those teams in mind. If I come down here, wait a minute. Coon Rapids at Woodbury, Prior Lake at Wayzata, Anoka at Eastridge, Moorhead at Rosemount. Those are the exact same games, and that's when it hit me. These 2 brackets, the bottom right one from 2022 and 2016, and this one from 2019, are the exact same bracket, just flipped upside down. As you see, Maple Grove through Roseville is in the bottom right on this one. Maple Grove through Roseville is in the top right on this one. So I messed up. I was only choosing between 3 brackets. Now, normally, like I said, I gave my reasoning for why I was choosing between these 2. The only reason I would ever look at this mysterious 4th bracket that I've never seen is if we had arguably the best number 1 seed Maple Grove matched up on the same side as arguably the team that had the easiest strength, or the 1 seed that had the easiest strength of schedule, Woodbury. And of course, our missing bracket does include this. But first, I want to touch on how I was, missed this. So if I scroll down to my little boxes right here, I got just 6 numbers in boxes. These essentially represent the 6 blank state brackets that the State High School League will select for the Minnesota Football 6A tournament. So each one of these numbers represents one of these brackets. So we'll say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, right? So what happens, why there's 6 total, but there's only 4 up here, is the brackets from the last 2 seasons are thrown out and not eligible to be selected for the current season. So for example, bracket number 3 was used when Centennial won the state championship in 2023. Therefore, it's ineligible for this year. This past season, 2024, when Maple Grove won it all, bracket number 6 was selected. Therefore, we cannot use bracket number 6 either. So for the 2025 season, the 4 brackets remaining are bracket number 1, bracket number 2, bracket number 4, and bracket number 5. So I hope that clears things up a little bit. That's how, whenever I say there's only 4 brackets to choose from, but 6 brackets total, that's how we get to those numbers. There are 6 total, but the State High School League throws out the 2 most recently used brackets, and that's just so that we get a little bit more variety, and you get to play, like we said, teams you never really get to play all that often. Like, for example, here at Lakeville South, we never get to match up against Metro East teams. Like, if I just look through the last time we have played some teams, just looking at some of the East teams, I think I might be able to count it all on one hand. Like Eastridge, we've played twice. Both of times have been in the playoffs. Forest Lake, we've only played twice. That was in the regular season, but that was 2005 and 2006 for the last time that we played the Rangers. Maybe that was 2007 and 2006. I have to go back and double check. Mounds View, that's going to change this coming season in 2025. We get to host the Mustangs week 1, but prior to that, we'd only played them one time in our school's history, and that was in the 2019 playoffs. Who else am I missing here? Stillwater, we've only ever played them once, and that was in the playoffs in 2022. Same thing with White Bear Lake. We played them the second round of the playoffs 2022. Only time we've ever seen the Bears. And then Woodbury, we've only matched up twice, also only in the playoffs. So it's just cool when you get the cross-section matchups, because then you get to play these teams that your kids just have never really seen. I guess that's kind of one of the things that inspired me to start doing all these videos and all the live streams about different teams in 6A, because I just realized, how many teams do you actually get exposed to in your high school career? Like, I would used to give our kids at South quizzes like, hey, can you name all 6 teams in the Metro East? And, next to none of our kids, maybe 3 in our entire football program could actually do it. Like, it was rough. Funny enough, the team that they always got stumped on was Mounds View, and now all of a sudden we have to play Mounds View, so at least the kids are going to remember what the Mounds View Mustangs are. But it just goes to show you, like, it's not that they don't care or anything, it's just essentially a lack of, I guess you could call it like exposure bias. If you're never exposed to these teams, how would you know anything about them? And that's exactly it. So, back to the brackets, that's why we have those 6 total brackets. So the one that I missed, I'm going to come over here to the State High School League brackets. So these are those 4 brackets I was talking about, bracket 1, 2, 4, and 5, that are eligible for the 2025 season. And so here's bracket number 4. This is the one that stumped me, because I didn't realize that 2 of my brackets were essentially bracket 4. The 2019 bracket was just flipped upside down. So bracket 4 was used in 2016, 2019, and 2022. Bracket number 5 up here. Who won the state title in those years? 2019 was Wyzetta, 2022 was Maple Grove, and I think 2016 was EP. Maybe that was the year Totino Grace won. Ooh, who won in 2016? All right, we're going to Minnesota scores. I got to find out. Who won the Prep Bowl in 2017? 6A... 2016 to, because 2017 to 18 I think was EP over Minnetonka. It was 2016 EP over Minnetonka. Beat Champlain Park. Did they not beat? I want to say Totino Grace won it all. What in the world? Yeah, I hate. Look at how many ads I'm already blocking on this site. 241, 243, 258. Oh, it just keeps going up. I didn't realize Minnesota scores needed that much. I'm like 90% certain that Totino Grace won the 2016 Prep Bowl, and then, yeah, so I think that was when TG beat EP, right? And then 2017 was when EP beat Minnetonka, so that would be this bracket over here, which is funny enough, that's the only time that bracket's been utilized. And I was talking about bracket number 6 earlier. The only time that one had ever been picked was, funny enough, the inaugural season for the 6A state tournament in 2015 when Osseo beat Eastridge. Then here's bracket number 5. This bracket was used in 2018 and 2021. So when Lakeville North, actually, funny enough, it's the same bracket when both Lakeville schools won the state title. 2018 was Lakeville North, 2021 was Lakeville South. How about that? Representing the city of Lakeville with bracket number 5. So this last bracket, bracket number 1, as you can see in the top left corner up here, has never been used before, which is why I made the mistake. Because when I drew up all these brackets, it's not like this information was readily available. So I literally had to go through each of the brackets that I found between Minnesota Football Hub and cross-reference it with section placements from Minnesota scores for each of the year. And once I had the brackets recreated with seeds and sections, I was able to just erase the teams, and then I had all the numbers I needed. But like I said, I did not realize the 2019 bracket was the same as 2016 and 2022, just flipped upside down for some reason. So that is 100% my fault, because as far as I knew, I had 6 different brackets. I didn't realize there was still one floating around out there that had never been used. Until today, that is. Because if we look, the winner of Section 4, which is Woodbury, would be matched up right here with the winner of Section 6, which would be Maple Grove. So why is that important? Let's talk about that really fast. So, highlighted right here, the State High School League usually tries to pair the best 1 seed with the worst 1 seed. So say we take our 1 seeds from each section. So Lakeville South, Woodbury, and we'll go and I'll do a quick recap of all the teams so that you all can, in case you haven't seen the previous video, so we know what all the standings were and what the records were. Centennial, and then Maple Grove. So according to ChatGPT, all these teams went undefeated, but you take these 4 teams, these are the 4 1 seeds, and you rank them 1 through 4. I'd argue that Maple Grove would be probably the best out of these because they had the most difficult strength of schedule. They went undefeated in the regular season in that tough Metro West division. They had top wins over EP, Minnetonka. Who else did they play? They had a nice one over Stillwater. Go down here. See where Maple Grove is. At Stillwater, Eden Prairie, at Edina. Wyzetta was a good win because they were 5-3, and Minnetonka. So they have a lot of quality wins, more so than I'd say any of the other teams. And then, we'll give them the number 1 seed easily. So going back, we'll do it over here. So looking at these teams, number 1 would be Maple Grove. They are the best 1 seed, so we put them up here. And like I said, you want the best of the 1 seeds matched up with the worst of the 1 seeds. Well, how do we determine that? Let's go back and look at the regular season. Lakeville South and Centennial both played pretty tough schedules. I guess South more so than Centennial, but the one that really sticks out would be the Woodbury Royals. Just think about 3 games in a row right here they won. Moorhead, Hopkins, and Forest Lake all finished 0-8 according to ChatGPT. So 3 of your opponents have a combined record of 0-24. Not to mention, you also played Roseville on top of that, which is a Maroon game. And then, sure, these are tougher division games. Eastridge, Moundsview, and Stillwater. I guess Stillwater and Eastridge are really your only tough wins you had. White Bear kind of struggled. They were only 2-6. Moundsview was 3-5. Obviously Moundsview had some tough games with Lakeville South and Maple Grove, but it's still not the best, most quality win. And so that is probably why Woodbury I would consider the weakest of the 1 seeds. Not because they didn't earn a 1 seed, because they are 8-0, and obviously they are the best team out of the Metro East, as you see by the seedings here. They have the best record. They have the best section record. Therefore, they are the 1 seed. But like I said, based on their strength of schedule, especially when compared to Maple Grove, Centennial, and Lakeville South. Lakeville South playing Shakopee and Prior Lake and Rosemount alone, plus Lakeville North. Those 4 games probably have more wins than all of Woodbury's opponents combined. Actually, you know what? Maybe Rosemount and Lakeville North and Shakopee alone accomplished that, but I digress. And then Centennial had some pretty tough opponents, too. They played Rosemount, who ended up being a 2 seed. Good game with Andover. Rogers ended up being a bunch of studs. And then, sure, they play other Metro North teams that you could argue maybe aren't as good, like Osseo. Who knows what's going to come out of Osseo? You have a non-conference game against Roseville. Champlain Park, according to this thing, was down. This thing really was mean to Anoka. It said the Tornadoes are only going to be 2-6, and they're going to be a 6 seed. all because they lost week 6 to Champlain Park. So Champlain Park got that tiebreaker over the Tornadoes. Yeah. But so going back here, clearly Woodbury is the weakest of the 4. And that's pretty much all that I need to know. I mean, we could argue for a while over, well, who's the actual 2 and 3, like second or third best team? Is it Lakeville South? Is it Centennial? Doesn't matter. All we know is that those 2 would be a 2 and a 3. So we want those 2 on the same side of the bracket, and we want Maple Grove and Woodbury on the other side of the bracket. So if I go to our new bracket that I filled out in this top left corner, we're going to go ahead and give this a new coat of paint because this is the one we are going to utilize. And I have already filled out all the matchups, as you can see. We're going to go through them here in a second. We're going to give it a nice green color. So, actually, I'm not as big on the green. It's a little hard to read. How about... Now, I can't do yellow because there's already... Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, we'll do pink. Purplish. It's a nice, cool color, so... Now, all right, screw it. We'll leave it white. All right. Keep it blank, keep it simple. So, this is the bracket with the teams filled out. And it blew my mind because the winner of Section 3 actually has to play the 8th seed of Section 5. I didn't know there was a single bracket that existed where the winner of Section 3 has to play the 8th seed out of Section 5. I've always thought, oh, if Lakeville South becomes the 1 seed in our section, then we're destined to only play... Like, at least this coming season, it would be either Hopkins or either Park or Roseville, whichever one ends up being the 8th seed out in Section 4, because I thought those were the only brackets that existed. But no, there is indeed a bracket that exists where Lakeville South would host 8-seeded Coon Rapids, who, funny enough, Coon Rapids was 6-2. We'll go back and we'll look at the picks really fast. But yeah, actually, let's do the picks before I get into the full bracket and break it down. So if we look, we had Centennial, who is the winner of the Metro North, and they secured the 1 seed in Section 5. Perfect 8-0 season, had some quality wins. The 2nd seed up there was a bit of a surprise. It was the Rogers Royals, finishing at 7-1, had a lot of quality wins. Their lone loss was Week 5 to Centennial. Who's the next seed up here? Andover, another team. So both the 5A teams that joined the Metro North had pretty solid seasons. Andover was a respectable 5-3. They lost some tough games to Centennial, Rogers, and Wyzetta, but they were able to get nice wins over teams like Champlain Park, Blaine, and Anoka, and Coon Rapids. Apparently that's a quality win because Coon Rapids went 6-2. We'll get to them when we talk about the Maroon teams, but that was enough to secure Andover a 3 seed and a home playoff game. Coming in at 4-4, and the 4th seed would be Blaine. They had a tough go. They lost their first 2 to North and Rogers. Then they turned it around, won 4 in a row before dropping their final 2 games to Centennial and Andover. So finished 4-4, middle of the pack. Champlain Park, bit of a rough season. You lose to STMA. Tough losses at Andover, Centennial, Rogers, Blaine. You actually started off 0-5. But then they won 2 of their last 3. So, a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs. So that's a tough game at Lakeville North there, Week 7. And then just below them, also at 2-6, would be the Anoka Tornadoes. So I kind of talked about this earlier, the big game that decided this, because they're both 2-6. How do you decide who is the higher seed? Well, if you look at section records over here, and you look at the head-to-head matchup, Champlain Park did beat Anoka Week 6. Therefore, they get the tiebreaker, and they end up with a better section record anyway. So, no matter how you look at it, Champlain Park gets the higher seed over Anoka. So, Anoka goes down to 6. And at the 7th seed, it's poor Osseo at 0-8. We'll go talk about Coon Rapids. We'll go by section. So, the Metro Maroon teams. A lot of people still have questions about this, and understandably so. This is one of the most confusing things about Minnesota 6A football. QRF's probably the most confusing, but we're not going to get into the QRF. So Coon Rapids is in the Metro Maroon District for your regular season conference, as some people might call it. I know Caleb and I have talked about that on Minnesota High School Football Network. That's the term he uses. It keeps it pretty straightforward. So that's for their regular season conference, but in the playoffs, there's only 4 sections. So these 5 Maroon teams get put back into these other conferences for section play. Like if I go over here to our original placings, you can see because Coon Rapids was a Maroon team and their playoff section is Section 5, they are automatically relegated to the lowest available seed in their playoff section. So because even though Osseo was 0-8 and Coon Rapids was 6-2, because Coon Rapids opted for schedule relief, they get the lowest available seed. There's 7 teams that did not opt to be Maroon teams. That leaves the 8th seed as the lowest available seed. Therefore, Coon Rapids gets the 8th seed. So I hope that helps clear it up a little bit. Same thing with like Section 3. Eastview is the only Maroon team coming out of Section 3. These other 7 teams make up the Metro South, but come playoff time, Eastview gets put back into Section 3 instead of the Metro Maroon, and they are automatically relegated to that 8th seed. Same thing with Hopkins in Section 6. The one difference is Section 4. There's only 6 teams in the Metro East, these 6 right here. So that means the lowest available seeds would be the 7th seed and then the 8th seed down here with Park of Cottage Grove. And so going back here, why is it that I gave Roseville the 7th and Park Cottage Grove the 8th? All comes down to records and head-to-head matchups. So if we look right here, they were both 2-6. Who won the head-to-head matchup? Roseville won the head-to-head matchup over Park Cottage Grove. Therefore, Roseville gets bumped up to the 7th seed. Park Cottage Grove gets the 8th seed. And that's also why both these 2-6 Maroon teams are lower seeds than the 0-8 Forest Lake Rangers. Ooh. We'll circle back to the Rangers here in a second. Let's go through the Metro South teams next. So Egan had a bit of a rough season. They went from being a 2 seed last year all the way down to a 7th seed. Only had 1 win. That was over Eastview. But if you look at their schedule, it was just really tough. Shakopee, at Prior Lake, at Lakeville North, at Lakeville South. Should have beat Farmington. At Rogers, who ended up being 7-1. Rosemount was a 2 seed at 6-2. A lot of tough games. Farmington, I mean, it didn't really surprise me that they're a 6 seed. I would have thought Farmington and Egan would have been flopped, but ChatGPT seems to think otherwise. But same thing. Wins over Eastview, White Bear Lake, and Egan. But otherwise, when they play the rest of the Metro South, like Lakeville North, Lakeville South, Rosemount, Prior Lake, Shakopee, didn't hold up so well. Lakeville North did pretty solid for themselves, though. They were 6-2. They won both their non-conference games against Blaine and Champlain Park. Get to play 2 North teams, which is cool. I don't know. Funny enough, North is playing the North teams. And their only losses were in the section to South and Rosemount. So, you get quality wins over Shakopee and Prior Lake. It's really not too shabby for the Panthers. And going over to the south side of Lakeville, Cougars went 8-0, had quality wins with, well, Edina apparently didn't do so hot, but normally you'd think that'd be a quality win. But Shako, North, Prior Lake, Rosemount, all great wins. They get the 1 seed, undefeated, 8-0, perfect 6-0 record in the section. Prior Lake, this was a tough one for Prior Lake. So, for those that don't know, Prior Lake has not had a losing season since I don't even know how. It's been like 15 years. I want to say like maybe 2010 or 2009 might have been the last time Prior Lake has had a losing season. And that streak, according to ChatGPT, is going to come to an end in the 2025 season because the Lakers fell to only 3-5. And that lands them at the 5 seed in the playoffs. They had wins over Farmington, Egan, and winless Forest Lake. So, not the toughest opponents. But if you look at these 5 games in the middle that they lost, at Rosemount, at Lakeville North, at Lakeville South, home game versus their arch rival Shakopee. And then I don't know how they ended up with Minnetonka as their non-section game. That's poor Lakers. That's pretty rough. But hey, if the Lakers want to be winning state titles, like they said in that 612 quarterbacks video, those are the kind of games you got to win. And then Rosemount, what a turnaround. They ended up swapping from 1-7 all the way up to 6-2. Must be that new Flexbone offense. They finally got things solidified over there, not running 100 different offenses, and it worked for them. Sure, if you look, their only 2 losses were to undefeated Centennial and undefeated Lakeville South. Otherwise, they beat Eastview and swept their way through the rest of the Metro South. And then Shakopee, kind of a fallback season. They had a lot of tough competition in the Metro South. Not that they didn't these last 2 years in the Metro West, but you're facing a lot more run-heavy teams now. Like, sure, you got EP out in the Metro West, and I guess YZ does a lot of inside zone. They're like 70% run. But you can compare that to, well, I guess Minnetonka too. A lot of quarterback GH counter, but it's not the same as like Lakeville North, a power I with a lot of bootleg. Lakeville South, the power T. You get Egan with their flex bone, and I guess now you've got Rosemount with a flex bone. So Whole lot of mix-ups. And then, nice, yeah, sneaky win over Osseo there. That's kind of an interesting matchup. Shakopee and Osseo, two teams that you just, I don't know, I don't really associate them with each other. You'd never think they would clash, but we're going to get that this season. Ooh, and it's at Vaughn Field. Interesting. But yeah, that solidified the Sabres as the 4 seed, split their season in half, basically. Let's go to the Metro East. Do not hate me, Ranger fans, and I know that everyone at Mounds View and Stillwater is probably not too happy. A lot of them have been following my account. I mean, Stillwater didn't do too bad, but when these 3 teams right here all see that Woodbury has gone 8-0 and has earned the 1 seed in Section 4, they might have a few things to say about that. Or let's say they will contest ChatGPT's prediction. Eastridge had a pretty solid season, though. Ironically, they could have been either a 1 seed or a 3 seed. There was no shot at them being a 2 seed. They had a tough loss to Minnetonka. Nice wins against Hopkins, Roseville, and White Bear Lake. And then, well, I guess, I don't know if you can really call many of these quality wins. Mounds View's a solid win, but they had a losing record. Hopkins and Roseville are Maroon teams. Forest Lake apparently didn't win a game. And White Bear didn't do so hot. Mounds View is pretty much their most quality win, and the Mustangs still went 3-5. So I didn't even think about that. Eastridge did not beat a team with a winning record. In fact, 2 of the teams that they beat had winless seasons in Forest Lake and Hopkins. Interesting. But yeah, it all came down to that Week 8 matchup versus Woodbury. If they would have beaten Woodbury, a 7-1 Woodbury would have had the same section record as a 6-2 Eastridge Raptors. And even though Woodbury has the better overall record, it's section placement. It's kind of like what happened with Minnetonka and Shakopee last season. So we look at, all right, you have the same record in the section. Who won the head-to-head matchup? Eastridge would have won that head-to-head matchup Week 8, and that would have given Eastridge the 1 seed. But because they lost that game, Woodbury goes 8-0, Eastridge drops to 5-3, and then Stillwater sneaks in and snipes that 2 seed because Week 7, Stillwater got a clutch win at Eastridge. Ponies had a pretty solid season for themselves. They beat Shakopee, was a huge win apparently. Obviously lost to Maple Grove, lost to 8-0 Woodbury. Those are the only 2 losses. And again, kind of like with Lakeville South, or with Rosemount, as I mentioned earlier. Your only 2 losses are to undefeated teams. Funny enough, Stillwater and Rosemount lost to the only undefeated teams in 6A. Rosemount lost to Centennial and Lakeville South, and Stillwater lost to the other 2, Woodbury and Maple Grove. I just realized that now. White Bear Lake, 2-6, 5 seed, kind of what you expect out of White Bear Lake. Like I said earlier, the big shock was Forest Lake. The fact that the Rangers are returning so much talent, and ChatGPT thinks they're going to go 0-8 this season is just crazy. And like I mentioned earlier, even though they're 0-8 and Park and Roseville both have better records than them, these 2 are Maroon teams, so they are automatic lowest available seed, which would be the 7th and the 8th seed. Forest Lake gets the next seed above them, which would be the 6th seed. And that's where they land. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, undefeated Woodbury, beating up on 3 teams that didn't win a game, plus another Maroon team. And then White Bear Lake had a losing record. Mounds View had a losing record. Eastridge did not beat teams that had a winning record, so I don't know how far that win goes. And then really their only quality win was versus a 6-2 Stillwater team. Which, funny enough, if Stillwater would have won that game at Woodbury Week 5, that would have put them both at 7-1, and the Ponies would have had the tiebreakers. So then they would have been the 1 seed. But I mean, that just goes to show how important any given section matchup is throughout the week. That it's kind of like the same thing that happened last year in the 2024 season. Week 3 matchup with Forest Lake at Mounds View. Rangers kind of got thumped out of nowhere by the Mustangs, and even though the Rangers rattled off 5 wins in a row, finishing 6-2, Mounds View also finished 6-2. They had the same section record because that was Mounds View ended up losing to Stillwater as their second game of the season. So both teams finished 4-1 in the section. Who won the head-to-head matchup? Well, Mounds View did. So that's why Mounds View got the nod at the 1 seed, and then Forest Lake drops to the 2 seed. Now let's look out at the Metro West. This one had some surprises. Probably the biggest surprise was the loaded Moorhead Spuds with returning talent fell all the way to, not only just fell to a 7th seed, but didn't win a single game in their inaugural 6A season. if there was anything I could dispute, it's probably either Forest Lake going 0-8, Hopkins going 0-8, or Moorhead going 0-8, because I don't think any of those three things are actually going to happen in the 2025 season. But I didn't make these decisions. Our great AI overlord ChatGPT has made these decisions. And then just ahead of the Spuds at 2-6 was another shocker, Edina. I mean, they beat a Maroon team in Hopkins, and actually their only two wins are against 0-8 teams, Hopkins and Moorhead. Otherwise, their 6 middle games right here, all losses. And I mean, it's not like it was a cakewalk. Wayzata, EP, Maple Grove, STMA you should win, but Lakeville South and Minnetonka, like 5 of those 6 games are pretty darn difficult for Edina. So, it could go either way, but I don't see Coach Potts and the Hornets dropping to 2-6, especially with Mason West coming back to play football this year. Who was the 5th seed? Kind of a surprise. STMA, they got quality wins over Edina and over Moorhead, which bumped them all the way up to the 5 seed. Obviously, they beat winless Hopkins, and they had kind of a solid win over Champlain Park to start the season. But then they struggled with the heavy hitters down in the Metro West, Minnetonka, Wayzata, EP, and had to go at Maple Grove. All tough losses. You think they'd be a little more used to Maple Grove? Because both these teams, STMA and Maple Grove, moved over to Section 6 in the Metro West from Section 5/ the Metro North. And you think they'd be used to playing each other by now. But I guess STMA's got to get some things figured out on offense first. Just ahead of STMA was Wayzata. Wayzata thundered off to an awesome 5-0 start, but then they ran into Minnetonka, Maple Grove, and Eden Prairie and lost the last 3 games in the regular season. So they're kind of in a rut going into the playoffs, and they went from being essentially the 1 seed all the way down to the 4 seed because of these 3 losses. And those are the 3 teams that finished ahead of them. Shockingly, Minnetonka at 6-2 was all the way down to the 3 seed. Their only losses, Eden Prairie and Maple Grove. They still have some great wins, like Prior Lake, STMA is solid, Eastridge was 5-3, and Wayzata, and I guess Edina. And then, like I said, their only losses, Maple Grove, Eden Prairie. That keeps them at the 3 seed because they lost those 2 section games. EP beat everyone else except at Maple Grove. So the 7-1 Eagles get the nod at the 2 seed. And finally, Maple Grove Crimson, 8-0, first time in the Metro West, and just dominate. I mean, look at all these wins. Like I said, they beat Stillwater, beat Eden Prairie. I think Mounds View and Edina, well, I guess Moorhead, those are the only teams that had a losing record on their schedule. Otherwise, the other 5 teams are all 500 or better. So definitely a lot of quality wins for Maple Grove, which is why I gave them the overall number 1 seed. But yeah, and then looking at these Maroon teams, Coon Rapids coming in at 6-2. I mean, you beat Osseo and White Bear Lake. Like, I get they may not be the best teams, but they're not Maroon teams. Normally, when you see a Maroon team match up with a non-Maroon team, you get like what you would see here with Andover and Blaine taking wins. So I'd be interested to see Coach Vasquez taking over at Coon Rapids. What are they going to look like? From what I've seen on their Instagram account, it looks like he's doing a good job rebuilding the culture. It's really setting the foundation of the program. So I'm excited to see what Coon Rapids does in 2025. But because they're a Maroon team, they're the only Maroon team in Section 5, they are automatically relegated to an 8th seed, just like Eastview and Hopkins in Sections 3 and 6, respectively. Hopkins, oh my goodness, I touched on this earlier. Hop versus the World, and the World somehow won. Hopkins went 0-8. There's no way that's going to happen in the 2025 season, but ChatGPT must be a few years behind the times. They haven't bought in yet. Maybe we need to get ChatGPT like a Coach Chauncey t-shirt or something. That'd be pretty sweet. Eastview, they were a respectable 3-5, but if you look at their wins, they're only against other Maroon teams. Roseville, Hopkins, and Park. I don't know how they matched up with Rosemount and Eden Prairie. I mean, their first 3 games with Farmington, Rosemount, and Egan at least makes sense. 2 of them are in District 196, and they're all in Section 3 if you add Farmington into that. But Eden Prairie, the Eden Prairie Eagles get an easy game against Eastview, a Maroon team that's not even in your section? I guess there was some weird things with that, like, Hopkins is in STMA's section, but doesn't Wayzata play Park Cottage Grove? Yeah, there it is, Week 5. Wayzata at Park Cottage Grove. So I guess those are really the only 2 strange games in there. Yeah, I can't explain those, but hey, you got to be able to fill out the games, and it'll give those teams a challenge, kind of like how Roseville has to go to Centennial Week 6. Maybe they'll learn a thing or two about sticking with one system on offense. So those are the regular season standings. I've plugged those in down here. We're going to go ahead and check off all these teams because we've got them plugged into the bracket. And now we're going to go look at the actual bracket, and we're going to get to some picks. Make sure my AI overlord is ready. And I do have the sheet that I used last time where I was writing up all the matches over on my other screen here. And I'm just going to copy and paste it into ChatGPT to save some time. Let's go through these matchups. In the top left corner, we've got the 8th-seeded Coon Rapids Cardinals at 6-2 visiting the south side of Lakeville, taking on the Cougars. STMA will be at Mounds View, which is actually a regular season matchup from the last cycle. They matched up week 8. Anoka will be at Lakeville North. Roseville will be at Eden Prairie. If we go to the lower left bracket, Park Cottage Grove is going to take a trip up to Circle Pines, go visit the Cougars of Centennial. Prior Lake is still going to Wyzetta. Farmington is still going to Minnetonka. Osseo, instead of having to go to EP like they did last time, is going to take a trip up to Stillwater. So kind of an interesting matchup there. We have a repeat of a regular season game. Hopkins is going to have another shot at the Woodbury's Royals. Funny enough, both teams are blue, black, and white. Both teams are the Royals, and they both have 11 personnel spread offenses. Huh. Funny. Different defenses. Hopkins is a 4-2 flex. I think Woodbury's a base 3-4. We'll see. I got to get Woodbury on one of my live streams. They're one of the few teams I haven't seen yet. It's Woodbury, Farmington, Roseville, and Eastview. So see if I can't get to some of those guys. Make sure we get them represented. Getting on with the rest of the picks, we have Champlain Park visiting Shakopee. They matched up in 2023 playoffs, I believe. Here's a big one. We have Edina at Eastridge. Battle of some tough quarterbacks. It's Cedric Tomes of Eastridge, Mason West of Edina, going head-to-head. Gonna love to see that one. And you get Coach Potts versus Coach Fritzy, two West Coast kind of guys. Gonna love that. A lot of passing in that game. And then another repeat matchup. Funny enough, this was a Week 8 matchup, is Egan at Rogers. So after the Wildcats drop a game up in Rogers, they get to come back and come back to Egan, turn around, go right back up to Rogers for the playoff game. Maybe they'll be able to get an upset. They can figure things out after dissecting some of the film and come back strong. Who knows? In the lower right corner of the bracket, we have Eastview going to Maple Grove. Maybe the Lightning can get something going, but, I think Maple Grove will be very well insulated with rubber. White Bear Lake is visiting Blaine. This is an interesting matchup. Forest Lake is going to Andover. Now, someone can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm fairly certain that Coach Biscow of Forest Lake actually went to Andover High School. I don't think he played under Coach DeVellis. Coach DeVellis only took over in 2020, I believe, either 2019 or 2020. So this was obviously Coach Biscow was there long before Coach DeVellis took over, but still kind of a little bit of a homecoming. You go and take on your former high school in the playoffs. And then I made a mistake. Rogers and Egan is up here. My bad. This matchup we had in the last bracket, so we're going to get it again. Moorhead has to take yet another trip all the way down to the South Metro, and the Spuds have a date with the Rosemount Irish. I just thought about that. You have a potato mascot playing a team whose mascot is an Irishman. Irishmen eat potatoes. I wonder if that's why ChatGPT picked Rosemount the first time around. Maybe this is the time the potato bites back. Who knows? We'll see. So let's go over here to our AI overlord. So this is the same exact prompt that we used last time. As you can see, there it is. EP upset. EP came back with a vengeance against Maple Grove and got revenge in the state prep bowl. And Eden Prairie was our 2025 ChatGPT prep bowl winner. But as you can see from my prompt at the bottom, hi ChatGPT, I messed up and picked the wrong state tournament bracket. Bearing in mind your picks for weeks 1 through 8, I'm going to give you new games to pick for each round of the playoffs based on this new bracket. Are you ready? I probably mistyped something on there. Yeah. What I get for trying to type with one hand. Are you ready? Absolutely no problem at all. I've still got your week 1 through 8 picks and team trajectories in mind. All right. So let's do it. I'm going to copy from the other screen over here. I've got all 16 matchups written up. We're going to plug them in to ChatGPT. And then once our glorious AI overlord makes its picks, we'll go back into the bracket and we'll type them all up. Okay, it said Lakeville South over Coon Rapids. I was like just doing this with my fingers here in preparation for it to say Coon Rapids pulls the upset. First time an 8 seed ever beats a 1 seed. And then might have to take the shirt off at that point. Yeesh. Are we all done? We've made all 16 picks. So are there any surprises or upsets? Let's see. Lakeville South over Coon Rapids. So you know what? I'll actually pull the picks over here, and then I'll have the bracket up here so you all can see who wins everything. So we're looking at this top left bracket. So Lakeville South has upset upset. I hope it's not an upset, even though they're 6-2. Lakeville South takes down the Cardinals. ChatGPT's explanation. It says, actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll bring it back over because I want you all to be able to see that I'm just reading off ChatGPT. I'm not making stuff up here. So Coon Rapids has speed and explosiveness, but Lakeville South is simply built for November football. Disciplined, physical, and deep. Expect South to dominate time of possession and wear them down. You know, I agree with that. We do like to wear people down, and we've never actually played Coon Rapids. If I go back to 6A team overviews, Coon Rapids is one of the 5 teams Lakeville South has never played in 6A. The others being Osseo and then the 3 new teams to 6A this cycle. That would be kind of a cool matchup. You get to see a team that these kids have literally no one in the history of our school has ever played. That's kind of the beauty of the tournament. Lakeville South gets the win. What about Mounds View and STMA? STMA over Mounds View. I think Mounds View is the higher seed, so it's at Mounds View. But I believe STMA was 4-4. Mounds View is only 3-5. And STMA has a tougher schedule. It's a close one, but STMA's physicality and balanced offense. STMA's balanced offense. What you mean? Like they're, yeah. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure that I'd call a mismatch, or I guess a hodgepodge of different things balanced. But you know, to each their own. ChatGPT. But it gives them the edge. Mounds View can slow it down, but struggles in shootouts. I guess we'll have to see what Mounds View's offense looks like. They're a very good defensive team, but they've lost. Who is it? I cannot forget the names. It's Jacob Sampson was the quarterback, right? I think his first name was Jacob. And then Mitchell Olson was the running back. I mean, those two were, especially Mr. Sampson at quarterback, absolute stud. He can run quarterback GH counter. He can throw the ball. He can run the speed option. Like, he did so much to carry Mounds View, or not to carry necessarily, but to keep Mounds View's offense running at full potential. What are they going to look like next year? Is that new, like another quarterback coming up going to be able to do all that? Is he a dual threat guy? Is he more of a pocket passer? What are they going to look like if they can't run their speed option or run quarterback GH counter? Who knows? But I will be finding that out week 1 of the regular season, August 29th. Lucky me. Next pick, Anoka at Lakeville North. Lakeville North over Anoka. North is too stout defensively and well coached to get tripped up here. Anoka hangs early, but I could see Anoka getting out-muscled by Lakeville North, but to say that it doesn't directly say it, but ChatGPT is implying that Anoka isn't well-coached. Have you seen Coach Wasserich do his thing? Anoka is a very well-coached football team. But the AI Overlord has spoken. Lakeville North gets the win over the 6-seeded Tornadoes. Lakeville North. And then, okay, do we need to see Eden Prairie over Roseville? Mismatch. EP's front 7 will dominate. Roseville won't have the firepower to make it competitive. I don't know why it needed to add the word late at the end. You could have just put the period there at the end of the word competitive, and it still might have had the same result. We'll see. I really want to cover, who is it? Roseville. I feel like I haven't really talked about them. Obviously, I haven't covered them on any of the live streams yet. I think I might do a Roseville doubleheader. Look at their game against Eastview to knock them out. And then they had a close one against Woodbury. So, you know, not the highest team, or I guess the best teams record-wise last season, but you want to be able to give everyone a little bit of equal representation. Just see how these different teams kind of function. Let's go to the lower left-hand corner of the bracket. So we have Park Cottage Grove at Centennial. And Centennial gets the dub. Centennial's option game and playoff toughness overwhelm Park's defense. Centennial might have a little bit more than 250 rushing yards, but yeah. Either way, the gist is Cougars get it done on the ground. Centennial. Oh, Lord have mercy on me. That was a bad spelling mistake. Ooh, this is a big one. Prior Lake at Wayzata. The Lakers have gotten the better of the Trojans these last 2 regular seasons, but not today. Just like last time, Wayzata is over Prior Lake in a tight battle. Both teams are physical, both are capable, but Wayzata's edge in the passing game and overall discipline earned them the nod at home. That's actually a super base take. Like, Prior Lake has really big kids, but sometimes when it comes to like not necessarily discipline of like penalties wise, but discipline technique wise, like how you block, how you tackle, your read steps on defense, what technique you're playing with. And then, I mean, unless it's a rail or a wheel route out of the backfield, the passing game of Prior Lake really isn't there unless they take their check down swing pass, but that usually results in a TFL. So I tend to agree with ChatGPT here. And I mean, we've seen how many times Wayzata's ability to sling the ball downfield, and they've got good receivers. They got Sam Booz coming back. They have another kid coming up. They got a bunch of athletes. I mean, the school is over 3,000 kids. You're going to be able to find wide receivers at Wayzata High School. Ooh, Farmington at Minnetonka. This was a matchup last time. Do the Tigers have a chance? Farmington has some offensive firepower, but Tonka is more complete. I like that it knows to just call Minnetonka Tonka. That's cool. This one could get away from Farmington late. It's not saying Minnetonka's outright going to dominate the Tigers. That might get some of the skippers fired up under the helmet there, ChatGPT. Minnetonka probably thinks that they could have that game over by halftime. But I guess we'll see. ChatGPT seems to think the Tigers are going to put up a little bit more of a fight than the skippers hope for. Here we go. We got the interesting one now. Osseo at Stillwater. Stillwater gets the dub at home. Osseo can't match Stillwater's passing game or depth. It talked about this last time. Nick Kinsey is gone, right? Maybe it thinks Max Shikenjanski's still on the roster. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Maybe Stillwater's new incoming quarterback that is the successor to Mr. Kinsey can sling that ball around. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. If anyone's been to a Stillwater 7-on-7, let me know how they've looked. Is their passing game looking elite again? I have no idea. It's a mismatch on both sides of the ball. I don't think they're giving Osseo enough credit. Osseo usually has a very physical defensive line. They may not be the most disciplined on the offensive line, but they're at least big. And I think Coach Lamcurl is really going to nail down, instead of just running like a bunch of different offenses, he's just going to pick one system, and he's going to have his kids just study the crap out of it. So I think that'll do the Orioles some good, but ChatGPT says it won't do them any good in this game. And just looking at this, we've had, you know what's funny? Coon Rapids was an 8 seed because they're a maroon team at 6-2. Osseo was a 7th seed, which is a little bit better than an 8 seed, but they were 0-8. And now after losing in the first round of the playoffs, they fall into 0-9 on the season. So a lot of untimely losses. Bummer for Mounds View. They had a really tough season, and then you fall to STMA, who you've beaten the last 2 years, week 8. Kind of a little bit of a revenge for the Knights right there. But that's the left side of the bracket. Let's get over to the right side. I don't think we had really many upsets, do we? I think the only upset that we had on this entire side of the bracket was STMA beating Mounds View. And I don't know that that's much of an upset. Because like I said, even though Mounds View is a 5 seed, Mounds View is the 4 seed, STMA is the 5 seed. STMA was 4-4. Mounds View was 3-5. STMA just gets stuck with a lower record because they're in Section 6. You got Wayzata, EP, Minnetonka, and Maple Grove ahead of you in your section. So, I mean, hey, all the credit in the world to the Knights for being able to go 4-4 with that brutal section. A lot of props to them for that. Woodbury at Hopkins. We're going to get up to the top right corner of the bracket now. Who wins in the Battle of the Royals? Hopkins won't be able to slow Woodbury's perimeter weapons. Does Woodbury have perimeter weapons? Woodbury's defense likely forces multiple turnovers. What? Oh, my God. The Brothers Moore are not putting that football on the turf, 1. 2, I don't know a whole lot about Woodbury. Like I was showing in the previous graphic, we've only played them like twice in our school's history, and both times have been in the playoffs. I don't know a whole lot about Woodbury other than they're a spread offense, a lot of 10 and 11 personnel, mostly 11 personnel, and I think they run a 3-4 defense. But I don't think I've ever heard of Woodbury's defense talked among like the Shakopees, the Maple Groves, the Minnetonka, like the elite defenses of 6A. So the Centennial Cougars, any of those teams. So interesting take, but I do not want to displease our AI overlord, so we will give the nod to the Woodbury Royals, and poor Hopkins finished the season 0-8 and then bow out. At least they had to play Woodbury, so they have a little bit more of a chance. The other bracket we had, they had to go up to Circle Pines and play Centennial the first round. That's a pretty rough go. Let's see who Woodbury gets to meet in the second round. It's going to be Shaco or Champlin Park. And the Sabres get the dub. Champlin Park struggles against option-heavy offenses. I guess that is true. Centennial has gotten the better of Champlin Park recently, haven't they? Who won last season? Wasn't it... I don't know if I have the 2024 season, but did Centennial win Week 7 over Champlin Park, or did the Rebels get the dub? I don't know. Shakopee's Flexbone is rolling. Home team in a rout. Well, I don't know that I'd call that a rout, but Shakopee does seem to play a lot better at home. We have not recorded... I know some people have been asking the Minnesota High School Football Network about when's part 2 of our predicting 6A 2025 seasons in 3 words or less. In part 1, we talked about the Metro West and the Metro... Well, sections 5 and 6, which is the Metro North plus Coon Rapids and the Metro West plus Hopkins. We're recording part 2 here in the next few days, and we're going to talk about sections 3 and 4, plus Eastview, Park Cottage Grove, and Roseville as the Maroon teams. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see. Obviously, I'm going to have some things to say about Shakopee, but kind of alluding to what I might say about the Sabres. They definitely play a lot better at Vaughn Field than they do in other people's houses. That's not to say they can't get wins on the road, but a few more things go awry when they're away from home. We'll put it that way. But either way, they're going to have to really figure things out because they have to go on the road to the 1-seeded Woodbury Royals. Maybe some upset potential right there. We'll see what ChatGPT picks. Ooh, here we go. This is that offensive matchup I was talking about. Edina at Eastridge. Coach Potts, Coach Fritzy. Things are going down on the south side of Woodbury. Who gets the dub? Edina pulls the ups. Yep, upset alert. We do have another upset in this bracket. It's not just STMA over Mounds View. Edina wins a tight one. Slight edge in the trenches. Eastridge hasn't been consistent offensively. You know, you never know what to make of Eastridge. Like, they had a solid record last season in 2024, and then they ended up bowing out to... they got upset by Champlin Park in the first round of the playoffs on their home turf. Then the year before that, they were only, 2-6 in the regular season? And then they made it all the way to the state quarterfinals, and we at Lakeville South only beat them by 1 point. They upset the Minnetonka Skippers in Minnetonka in the second round. Like, whoa, you never know, man. Or even think about the year before that, 2022. Eastridge had to go into Prior Lake. And I mean, this was like a generational Prior Lake team. You had Greg Johnson, Martin Owusu, Jade Abasiri, all these D1 linemen. And Eastridge came away with the dub. I might have to do more with Prior Lake's, I guess, lack of ability to adjust the pass coverage. And, oh my goodness, Eastridge just completely took advantage of that, especially when they were in 3x1 sets, hitting the receiver on the backside, one-on-one against a corner. I am surprised that Prior Lake never adjusted to that. But fantastic for Coach Fritzy for making that adjustment. Let's see who Edina has to play. It's either going to be the 7-1 Rogers Royals, or maybe Egan figured things out from their Week 8 loss to the Royals. They're going to bounce back and pick up a dub. But not today, according to ChatGPT. Rogers controls the line of scrimmage. ChatGPT really is big on Rogers and dominating the line of scrimmage. So we'll see. I mean, if they can do that, then I think their game will translate really well to 6A. Coach Franz is a defensive-minded guy. I want to say he was a D lineman at St. Cloud State. I think I mentioned that in my the 3 teams that are new to 6A video. So I imagine if anyone's going to get it done for the D-line, he's going to do it, and Rogers should have a solid D-line. I guess we'll see how their offense holds up. But I mean, if you keep Egan off the field and they just don't score and you don't give them the ball, well, Egan's not exactly a team that can play from behind. So I can sort of see where that's coming from. But at the same time, Coach Johnson's done such a good job rebuilding Egan. I mean, they've just kind of like been stacking quality, like quietly stacking quality wins the last few years. They upset Shakopee in Week 8 in 2022 when they were still a Maroon team. In 2023, they had that huge win over Lakeville, or not Lakeville, that was Rosemount. And then last season, they beat Rosemount. Lakeville South was a huge win for them, and Farmington, who's kind of been their kryptonite, They beat all three of them in the regular season, and they won a playoff game, a close one against Osseo. That scrappy Osseo team gave the Wildcats all they could handle. And then, obviously, we know what happened in the playoffs. If you've not seen my live stream yet, you can actually go watch my thoughts on both the Week 1 matchup and the Week 10 matchup of Egan versus Edina. I've covered those in great detail. But for now, let's get into the lower right corner, finish up the first round of the playoffs. We got 4 games left to review. Eastview at Maple Grove. MG's defense is too fast and too physical. Eastview might hang in the first half, but this gets out of hand late. Saying Eastview hangs in the first half might be a bit insulting to Coach Spurrell and crew. They do a very good job up there in Maple Grove. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a close game in the first half, but hey, ChatGPT seems to think that the Eastview Lightning are going to bring a little bit of sauce up into Maple Grove, so maybe they can make something exciting happen. This is an interesting one. White Bear at Blaine. It's a toss-up, but Blaine gets the dub. Both teams are inconsistent, but Blaine's explosiveness gives them the edge at home. High-scoring game. I don't know if White Bear is a high-scoring team. Maybe they just run a lot of inside zones. They show Blaine how to get it done with actual double teams on offense when they're running. I've given Blaine a lot of zest about that for the lack of double teams. I started to think, are they actually running inside zone and just don't know how to double team? Or are they running ISO out of the gun? Because if they're running ISO, then that's just one-on-one blocking. It's man assignment blocking. Then I would be the goofball that's completely wrong. But, I can't tell. For some of those plays, it did look like inside zone or split zone, and they just completely ignored double teams. You never know. I've never seen Blaine's playbook, so I could not tell you whether it's ISO or inside zone. Let's get to a fun matchup. The Coach The Coach Beeskow Bowl. Forest Lake at Andover. Is Coach Beeskow going to defeat his former high school? No. Andover has the speed advantage and a more potent offense. Forest Lake can't keep pace in a back-and-forth game. I don't know about back and forth. I've definitely touched on Andover and their Star Wars offense before. I mean, if there is, I don't know. Is Howie Johnson going to be able to chase down any of the athletes on Andover? Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll see. If he has anything to say about it, he's going to be getting after him as hard as he can. But Rangers with a weird season, according to ChatGPT. They have a stunning 0-8 finish, and then their season ends at 0-9 with a road loss to the Andover Huskies in the first round of the playoffs. Who will Andover play? Who's winning this? The Irishman or the Potato? Well, Irishman's winning. Moorhead's a quality outstate team. A quality outstate team that you said is going 0-8, ChatGPT. What are you talking about? I'm the one that said they were quality. You told me they're not winning a game. Dude, the absolute, gaslighting that ChatGPT is giving me right now is not a vibe. Are you kidding me? You can't call them a quality team and tell me they're going 0-8. That just does not add up at all. All right, bottom line, this is a rough draw. Rosemount is too deep, too physical, and too experienced. And if they don't shoot themselves in the foot by running 100 different offenses, I think they'll be a very, very good football team. So we have our second round of the playoffs. Let's go through some of these matchups. We only had 2 upsets. We had Edina over Eastridge, and then sort of upset STMA over Moundsview. Technical upset by seeding, not by record. So once again, STMA has to visit Lakeville South. Lakeville North goes to Eden Prairie. Wyzetta goes to Centennial. That's an interesting one. Same thing with Minnetonka at Stillwater. We're going to have some nice games down here in the lower left corner of the bracket. And interesting enough, in our last playoff bracket, Centennial made it all the way to the state semis, as did Minnetonka. One of those teams will not make it back to the state semi because if they both win, they have to meet right there in the state quarterfinals. Let's go to the top right corner. Shakopee might have Woodbury on upset alert, and then Edina has to go up to Rogers. Now, Rogers ran into Minnetonka in the second round last time and ended the Royals season at home. They might be able to get it done against the 6-seeded Edina team. And then they have a state quarterfinal date against Woodbury or Shakopee. Oh my goodness, we might, depending on how things shake out, we might see Rogers all the way in the state semis. I won't get my hopes up, but we'll see what happens. We have Blaine at Maple Grove. 2 former Metro North rivals are going to be renewing their rivalry 1 year after they separate from each other. Blaine is back with a vengeance. Can the Crimson hold them off at home? And then this is an awesome matchup. Just two completely different ideologies. Andover at Rosemount. Lightspeed Star Wars offense, physical Irishman defense with a nice flexbone run game. That's what I'm talking about. So let's get some of these matchups thrown in over here. So we're going to call this the section finals. This is round 2. And remember, this is for a chance to play in the state tournament. In order to clinch a state berth, you have to be one of the final 8 teams in the 6A tournament. So we're about to find out who are the frauds that got lucky and won a playoff game, and who's legit and managed to make the final 8 in 6A. So we have St. Michael. I'm just typing it up on my other screen, trying to type one-handed. Let's get 2 hands in here. Yeah, St. Michael hyphen Albert, much faster at... Man, I'm going to be biting my nails again. Are we going to get upset by the Knights? We'll see how it goes. And then we have Lakeville North at Eden Prairie. And then who else? We have Wyzetta at Centennial. And this is the big one. Minnetonka at Stillwater. That's for a date to date with the winner side Centennial Wyzetta. That'll be fun. Shakopee is taking a trip out east. Shock OP at Woodbury. We'll see if ChatGPT thinks the Sabres can get a nice upset. They want to make it back to state. We have Edina, who pulled off the round 1 upset. They're at Rogers. Blaine at Maple Grove. And Andover at Rosemount. So as I was typing this up, I realized every 1 and 2 seed made it to the second round. Are we going to see some of them get knocked off in the second round? Let's see. Boom. Here it goes. We'll flip back here. While ChatGPT is thinking, you let me know in the comments. Who do you think's coming out of the second round? Is your team already eliminated? Are you still in? Do you have a shot to make it all the way to the state semis? Are you going to get hit by a rough opponent in the third round if you do survive the second round? What do you think's going to happen? Let's see. Give me... Okay, are the picks the same? It did the 2 responses thing. All the picks are the same. We're getting close to bank time. I prefer this response. Oh, it even gave me scores! It didn't give me scores in the first round. Okay, let's go through it. So Lakeville South does get the win over STMA. They can handle physical play, but South is a different beast. Ooh, we got discipline, we got depth, and... option? Option execution! What? Have you seen Lakeville South football? Option? What in the Shakopee do they think is going on here? Man, we ain't no Bemidji High School. Option? Lakeville South? You know what? Other 6A coaches, if you would like to believe Lakeville South, especially defensive coordinators, if you would like to believe Lakeville South is an option offense, by all means, go right ahead. But we do have execution in cold weather football, and it makes a near impossible out at this stage. Prediction, South 27, STMA 14. I guess we missed an extra point somewhere in there. I don't think we're kicking field goals. EP over North. It's a close one. These two always play close in November. EP gets the edge again with their playoff DNA, deep backfield, and ability to grind out fourth quarter drives. North won't go quietly. That's true, man. I mean, this is basically a rematch of the 2018 Prep Bowl. That's one of the all-time great Prep Bowls. Oh, poor Wyzetta. Centennial gets the dub over the Trojans. This one screams trench warfare. Wyzetta's disciplined and has a great front, but Centennial's option attack is built to control the clock and wear you down, especially November. And Centennial ChatGPT is a team that actually has an option attack. So, I don't know. It can figure that out with Centennial, but not with Lakeville South. Who would have thought? Let's fill some of these matchups in. So, once again, we're going to have Lakeville South and Eden Prairie. So, EP is still alive, man. If they are able to top South, they'll be back at the bank. And they were the team that ChatGPT predicted won the last state tournament when we used the other bracket. Maybe they're going to win this one as well. And then our other team here was Centennial. I might have hit... No, I didn't hit another key there. Good. I want to make sure that we spell Centennial correctly. Got to be respectful of all the teams. Now we have Minnetonka at Stillwater. This is a big one, but Minnetonka is getting a dub on the road. Tonka has the edge in team speed and versatility. Stillwater may move the ball early, but Coach Lombardi and Tonka's defense tighten up. Their run-pass balance wears the ponies down. Last season, Minnetonka did not have a run-pass balance, but I think we're going to see a more balanced attack from Minnetonka. Not necessarily a more balanced attack. They'll take what the defense gives them, but they have the ability to either run or pass the ball, more so than they did last year. I think that's a better way to word it. If you're aiming to be like 50% run, 50% pass, I'm not big on that mentality. I'm all about take what your opponent gives you. And then if they keep giving you the run, take the run. If they're going to load the box and give you the pass, take the pass. Either way, we have our state quarterfinal matchups. A 2 seed was eliminated. Stillwater's the first 1 or 2 seed out of the tournament at the hands of the Minnetonka Skippers. Let's go over to the right side of the bracket. This is the big one, Woodbury and Shakopee. And Shakopee gets the upset. A 1 seed has gone down. Woodbury is fast and dynamic, but Shaco's flexbone is a total November weapon. Shortens the game, punishes soft edges, and frustrates finesse defenses. So I guess Woodbury apparently has finesse. ChatGPT is big on the Woodbury defense. Personally, I've never seen it. I guess I'm going to have to go watch Woodbury defensive film after this. But Woodbury does not get enough possessions to pull it out. Shakopee gets a 1-point win. And just like that, the 4th-seeded Shakopee Sabres are going back to the state tournament. Who are they going to play? Is it going to be their former rival Edina, who they've kind of got they got the better of last year, but I think 2 years ago, Edina kind of took it to the Sabres. Or is it going to be the Rogers Royals? It's going to be the Rogers Royals in their inaugural season. Rogers is going to make the 6A state tournament and be one of the last 8 teams standing. Edina's had a strong year, but Rogers is more battle-tested and thrives in physical cold weather football. Their ground game and front 7 will carry them here. Rogers 17, Edina 10. So boom, Royals getting the dub, and they've got a date with the Shakopee Sabres. Now let's see the bottom right corner of the bracket. Well, I guess these were both kind of predictable. Bummer. So Maple Grove over Blaine. Blaine's got playmakers. Maple Grove is too complete. Their defensive speed, run game, and playoff polish. This is a tough matchup for anyone in the field. Maple Grove over Blaine, 31-14. Bit of a rout. Although I think that was pretty... Actually, I think it was worse last time they played. Didn't Maple Grove beat Blaine like 55-3 or something? Or maybe it was 35-0. It was some kind of lopsided game. That's all I remember. And then the big one, Andover at Rosemount. Andover's got offensive juice. Juice, clout, paper. I guess they got it all, but not enough to beat the Irish. Rosemount is one of those few teams in 6A that can smother you physically for 4 quarters. Too tough, too clean. I don't know about too clean or too disciplined. They do tend to get a lot of penalties, but there's very few teams out there that are tougher than Rosemount. So I can definitely see them getting it done. Star Wars offense must have flown right into an asteroid. Big old Irishman-shaped asteroid. Maybe it's a 4-leaf clover floating through space. Who knows? Either way, Rosemount is picking up the dub. And that leads us to our state quarterfinal matchups. And these are all neutral site games, so they will not be played at the home team. We've got Eden Prairie versus Lakeville South, Minnetonka versus Centennial. Surprise are out of their, I guess, yeah, 2 shockers out of the top right bracket. We've got Shakopee and Rogers, and then we got Maple Grove and Rosemount. So these 2 teams are back, these 2 are back, and then, oh, I didn't want to zoom in. EP and Lakeville South. So we have got 6 of the same teams returning to state as our previous bracket, but Stillwater and Woodbury have been replaced with Shakopee and Rogers. So we'll see how this plays out. That gives us a quarterfinal. Yep. Centennial, Minnetonka, Shakopee, Rogers. Yes. Keep in. So, incognito. How did I type that up? So, what do we have to specify for the state quarterfinal? These are neutral site games in November in Minnesota. Keep in mind the 3rd round of the playoffs is played at a neutral outdoor site in November in Minnesota. So weather, passing teams. Oh! Once again, Lakeville South bows out to the Eden Prairie Eagles. This is a coin flip heavyweight bout. Both are physical, playoff tough, and built for this weather. But EP has the deeper rotation, more battle-tested defensive front. I don't know how many starters EP's returning on their defense. And thrives in ugly November games. Their run game and special teams will be the difference in a bruiser. I guess I'm going to have to talk with Coach Burke about our special teams if we end up playing EP deep in the season. Make sure that we have those locked down. But either way, South's run has come to an end. The second-seeded Eden Prairie Eagles once again advance to US Bank Stadium. If I could spell Prairie, that'd be nice. There we go. All right, and who are the Eagles going to match up with? The Skippers or the Cougars? Ooh, we've got... I don't know if you can call it an upset because Centennial was 8-0, but... oh boy, Centennial gets the dub over the Minnetonka Skippers. Tonka has the better athletes and speed, but Centennial's triple option offense is a brutal draw in cold weather football. They'll grind clock, limit possessions, and frustrate a Tonka team that needs rhythm and pace. Expect long, soul-crushing drives from Centennial that keep Tonka's weapons off the field. Prediction, Centennial 21, Minnetonka 14. We've got Eden Prairie versus the Centennial Cougars matching up at US Bank Stadium for a chance to go to the Prep Bowl. Let's go to the other side of the bracket. Rogers gets the win over the Shakopee Sabres. This is sneaky good. Both teams are physical and built for November, but Rogers has the more balanced offense and a defense that can hold up better against the flex bone. Shako can't win from behind, which, I mean, you might be able to make that case about Shakopee. I think they might have a little bit better of a chance of doing that. Well, hard to say. Whether, like, if you had to pick, you know what, I'll leave it up to chat, or not chat, up to the audience. I forget, this is a video, not a live stream this time. Who do you think, out of the Flexbone teams in Minnesota, is the most built to be able to come from behind? Centennial, Egan, Rosemount, or Shakopee? Between those four. That's tough, because, I mean, they all have very good offensive systems. Well, I don't know about Rosemount. We'll see about them. Last year they did not, but that's because they didn't have an offensive system. That should be a lot more refined this year. But those other three, I mean, I couldn't pick between any of them. They're all very good. But Rogers has just enough fire to pull ahead in the second half. Rogers wins a tight one, and in their first 6A season, Rogers makes it all the way to the state semis of 6A and will be playing at US Bank Stadium. Who awaits them at US Bank Stadium? None other than the Maple Grove Crimson, who just beat the Rosemount Irish. This might be the most complete game of the round, but Grove's defense travels better. They're fast, physical, and clean tacklers. Rosemount will fight in the trenches, but Grove can win in more ways. Special teams, quick strikes, and late-game adjustments. In the rematch of the 2022 state title game, Maple Grove comes out on top and clinches a berth to US Bank Stadium. Yeesh, well, I don't know if anyone saw this coming. We have 2 teams from Section 5 remaining and 2 teams from Section 6 remaining. No one from Sections 3 and 4 has been left standing. We had a lot of... How many Section 3 teams do we have make it? We had South, Shakopee, Rosemount. We're all from Section 3. EP and Minnetonka and Maple Grove are from Section 6. And then Centennial and Rogers are from Section 5. Nobody from Section 4 was able to escape the second round. Woodbury got upset by Shakopee. Obviously, Stillwater lost to Minnetonka. I think that was the only teams. All the others got knocked out in the first round. Eee. I don't know. Then again, remember, we did have an 0-8 Forest Lake Rangers team. I don't think that's going to be the actual case come the real 2025 season. But ChatGPT has spoken. Let's get on to these state semifinal games. And it even knows they are at US Bank Stadium. We're back indoors. We're back to speed and execution. Let's hear your picks. AI Overlord. Oh, Eep. Oh, dude. How did we end up with the exact same prep bowl? All right. Well, I guess that's kind of a disappointing ending to the video. So, EP does end up beating Centennial. Centennial's option game is dangerous and built to shorten games, but US Bank takes away the weather advantage and gives EP's speed more room to breathe. EP's defensive front is experienced and gap sound, exactly the type of group that can disrupt the option. Didn't exactly disrupt Shakopee too much last season, but yeah, I guess there's a few differences between Shakopee and Centennial, at least formation-wise, a little bit play-wise. Centennial doesn't run rocket toss; they do more jet sweep. And I guess they do more buck sweeps. Shaco does counter trey instead of buck sweep. Other than that, plays are pretty similar. On offense, EP grinds, controls field possession, capitalizes on Centennial's limited possessions, as if Eden Prairie doesn't also have limited possessions. But expects Centennial to hang for 3 quarters, but EP has the experience to close the game out in the 4th and wins by 10. So, from the left side of the bracket, we have the second-seeded Eden Prairie Eagles. And they will be facing the Maple Grove Crimson, who are coming off a big win over the Rogers Royals. Rogers has been incredibly solid, physical, methodical, and opportunistic. But Maple Grove is just deeper, faster, and more dynamic in a dome setting. Their defense will fly to the ball, and their special teams are the real X factor indoors. I guess that's true. Maple Grove did have that forced fumble on the opening kick return versus Shakopee, and then they immediately scored a touchdown off it. But then they gave up a kick return touchdown right after that, so who knows? Rogers will need to control time of possession to win, but MG's offense can score in 3 to 4 plays if needed. That's true. I'm sure Patrick Wright can definitely get it done with his legs. We'll see. Or Caden Harney, for that matter. They got a lot of weapons there still. If Rogers falls behind early, they'll struggle to catch up. Grove just has more ways to win. So once again, another 10-point victory. Maple Grove 27, Rogers 17. And we've got a rematch, once again, of the Week 2 matchup between Maple Grove and Eden Prairie. Now, last time, ChatGPT picked the Eagles to upset the Crimson. Let's see if it does the same thing. I'm hoping that Maple Grove kind of overcomes the Eagles this time, get a little bit of variety in here, and that means Maple Grove will have back-to-back state titles, and they will have won, 3 of the last 5? 3 of the last 4? Yeah, I mean, that's quite the accomplishment. Pretty impressive. So I guess we'll see what happens. And I got to give Rogers a shout out, man. They went from being a second-round exit versus Minnetonka to making it all the way to the state semis against Maple Grove. Andover, who kind of got... Was Andover second round? Yeah, because they lost to Stillwater last time. They did about as good as they did last time. Played a solid Rosemount team. And then Moorhead, speaking of having to play a Rosemount team, poor Moorhead. I do not think the Spuds will actually be 0-8 and then lose in the first round of the playoffs. That will not happen, especially if they earn a top 4 seed in Section 6, which is going to be a tall order, but if the Spuds and Coach Feeney can pull it off, that means in the first round of the playoffs, some other team is going to have to make the trip all the way out to Moorhead. Talk about home field advantage. But let's get this prep bowl decided. Let's hear it. Did I spell that right? Yeah. Is it going to be EP again? Oh. Wait. Oh, no, it didn't pick. I thought it said Eden Prairie. Do you like that it's giving me emojis, too? Trophy, an eagle, and the maple leaf. Look at this. It's giving us a full breakdown. Legacy versus redemption. The 11-time state champs looking for redemption. Mike Grant has won more big games than most programs have played in. I mean, that's true. I think I mentioned in the last video, he's been coaching longer than I've been alive. He's been the head coach of Eden Prairie longer than I've been alive. Maple Grove, I mean, this is like something Caleb and I talked about in the part 1 of our 6A teams in 3 words or less. I kind of mentioned how Eden Prairie was this dynasty of the early to mid 2010s, and now Maple Grove is kind of like the early 2020s dynasty. And they're using that Eden Prairie framework. So that does make this a really cool matchup, especially if EP returns to form. Oh, and guess who it picked yet again? Title number 12 goes to the Eden Prairie Eagles. Maple Grove wants to push, pace, and create momentum off explosive plays, but EP's strength is taking that away. The Eagles shorten the game, win the field possession battle, and grind down opponents with a merciless O-line and suffocating defensive game plan. Maple Grove has their moments, maybe even a halftime lead, but EP's ability to just manage the clock and control the trenches takes over late. Eden Prairie 23, Maple Grove 17. And just like that, Eden Prairie once again is the state champion. ChatGPT really seems to think no matter which tournament we picked, we're going to end up with EP and Maple Grove in the state final. And if they are the 1 and 2 seed, just going back to our previous brackets that I filled out, every single bracket actually does have Eden Prairie and Maple Grove on the opposite side of the bracket. That one does. This one obviously did, because that was the one we used previously. EP here and Maple Grove's there. They're on the opposite side of that bracket. And if we come up here, Maple Grove and Eden Prairie. So no matter what, I feel like there's a solid chance if I do this again with ChatGPT, we're going to end up with those same 2 teams in the state title game. Unless I have it repick the entire 2025 season. Who knows? But that is pretty much the whole video. We corrected my mistake. We used bracket number 1, which has never been used until now, finally giving it a little bit of love. And Eden Prairie is our state champion for 6A football. Let me know in the comments. Did you expect Eden Prairie to win it again? Was there another team that should have won it? Did another team's playoff run surprise you? Did it surprise you that Rogers made it all the way to the state semis? Did it surprise you that Minnetonka lost to Centennial? Or that Prior Lake couldn't manage to beat Wyzetta after beating them for 2 years in a row? How about any of these other games? Like, for example, the Edina over Eastridge upset, or Shakopee taking down number 1 wood-seeded Woodbury on the road. There's a lot of games. So let me know in the comments what you all thought. I will be back to live streams. And as I mentioned earlier, I will also be recording part 2 of our break. I'll go ahead to Minnesota High School Football Network. We'll give Caleb a quick shout out. MNH, if I could actually type, MNH's Football Network. Ooh, he's probably posted some new 7-on-7 videos. I gotta watch some of these. But you can see part 1 right here. Ooh, 852 views, not too shabby. Staying ahead of the 7-on-7 video, just barely though. Gotta get more videos here. So definitely go give Caleb a follow. Love all the work that he does. Always appreciate the coverage that he brings to Minnesota high school football. And if you have not already, do not forget to go give my account a follow on Instagram. This is where I post all the updates. I'm going to be posting an update here soon about what live streams I'm going to be doing over the next few Saturdays. And obviously, go follow the YouTube, or go subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is where I post all the videos. This is where I host all my live streams. You can actually watch all my past live streams. If you have seen me break down one of your teams and you want to hear my thoughts, go ahead and watch any of these and let me know what you think about it. I'm always open to learning and interested in hearing the perspectives of others. So that's been the whole video. I will see you all next time.